Hi guys, welcome to the God Shot on Overthinking, and I'm Tony, and I'm thinking I'm thinking if you're overthinking, then you'd be here for this. I don't know, but I am not an overthinker. I don't think I'm an overthinker. I've kind of
He's only said thinking about 5 times in his introduction.
All right. I don't mean to be making jokes. If this is like something that for a person tuning in, it's really an issue for you. Let me tell you why I'm even making the God Shot because you guys many of you know that I'm out there on the front line like every day meeting teenagers and doing retreats and programs and giving them the opportunity to bring up the kinds of things that they're struggling with, dealing with. And this has been coming up. And being I'm not an overthinker, I wanted to show respect for the topic by letting the God Shot be with two people who I think can give you some insights and help better than I can. Okay. The first one is my good friend Christine, who works with youth and young adults and is a creative genius and a lot of other things. But also a person who claims to be an overthinker, and being her friend and colleague over the years, I wouldn't argue with that. Um, so, Christine, I really want to thank you for taking the time to be of help to anybody for whom, like this is something that they struggle with, and how you could give some insights into, what this is about, your own experience, and anything you'd like to share. Okay, so thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for recognizing that it may not be something that everybody struggles with, but for the people that do, it can be a big deal. And it's not to say that it's debilitating because it is certainly something to kind of get strategies in place and work through. But I think for me, what I have learned is that a lot of times overthinking is a symptom of something else that's going on. And so kind of getting to the root of whatever it is that's going on for you is really, really important. So like for me, I went into therapy and it helped me a lot to understand what my root cause was of all the overthinking. So for example, a root cause could be anxiety. It could be trauma related. It could be a lot of different things. And because I am not a mental health professional, I don't want anyone trying to diagnose themselves from this. But overthinking could also be related to like other types of neurodiversities like ADHD or autism and things like that. So it's important that if you find yourself really in a cycle of overthinking, that it's really impeding on your life, to maybe think about what would it look like to try to get a professional involved in helping to come up with some of these strategies. Because if it gets to a point that it's impacting your life in maybe a negative way or in a way that is kind of really like, wow, that really like got in the way of my day today, and it's kind of deterring you from being able to do what you need to do, then it's probably important to just kind of get a little bit of assistance with that. But if you're a person that is not comfortable with that, then maybe you can just do a little bit of self-examination and journaling to try to figure out what do you think it is. And if overthinking is not a symptom of something larger for you, then I'm sure your other guest, Cindy, will probably have some really great tips for them. But for me, overthinking is a symptom of something larger. And by going to therapy, I realized that it was a symptom of trauma related to some different things that have happened throughout the course of my life. And for me, there were several events that happened that were kind of completely out of my control and would happen absolutely out of nowhere. And so my overthinking was what I thought was like this control freak or like overanalyzer or like, oh, I have to be in charge of everything. And in reality, it's not any of that. Like I don't want to be in charge of things. I don't need to be in charge of things. It's actually very much a trauma response that is because I felt so out of control as a kid or as a teenager or as a young adult. it kind of manifested as I grew up, into feeling like I need to be ready for anything. So it is a very tiring feeling because it's called hypervigilance, so that like I'm on edge all times. I need to be ready for anything and prepared for anything, because if anything goes wrong, I need to be ready to handle it, because I've been in situations in my life that were traumatic that I needed to be ready at a moment's notice. And so if you're in a situation like that repeatedly, and I say a situation like that meaning traumatic situations, um, it can often result in that hypervigilant response. And so for me, again, I'm just speaking from my own experience, that really helped inform what my overthinking looks like and how I negotiate around it. And I can actually now like almost like pull back a little bit, almost like if you're watching a movie and they like push in and pull out kind of thing. I can now take a step back and recognize like, okay, I'm doing it. Okay, that means I need to do some breathing. I need to like relax a little bit. I'm not this like my fight or flight response does not need to be activated because I'm not in an urgent situation. This is not a crisis. I'm okay. And it's almost like there's some self-soothing techniques that I can do to help myself realize I don't have to overthink this entire situation, because my body perceives there's danger if you don't control everything. Because if you don't control everything, it will be out of control. And out of control is terrible and dangerous, and somebody will get hurt, because that was my past. Um, so like I said, it's really important to understand where the overthinking comes from, because that helps you it helps you come up with strategies that can really speak to um, aiding yourself in moving forward.
Mm. You know, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking that, well, this is being made in 2021. We've just finished up over a year affected by the pandemic. And I've never had this issue brought up before this time that we're living in. And do you think, I guess, the uncertainty of a pandemic coming out of nowhere, affecting every area of life for especially a young person? I know that people of all ages watch these videos, but my experience out there in the field is working with the young. And for a young person growing up, to have this just throw your world upside down has got makes sense that it would trigger a process like this.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of overthinking that is happening now that maybe has never happened before, specifically because of that feeling of lack of control. And so that's not to say that, like, I mean, mental health professionals have referred to the pandemic as a collective trauma, but some people handle trauma differently than others, right? Like, some people might just kind of, okay, that happened and we got through it and we're okay. And other people are really impacted by the social isolation and so on and so forth. So it's not to say you should or you shouldn't feel a certain way. You're going to feel how you feel, and there's no controlling that. Like, we can't control how another person internalizes their experiences. Um, but I have definitely seen in the teens that I work with, the young adults that I work with, even the families that I work with, um, a definite increase in overthinking tendencies, just based on, is it safe? Is it not safe? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Who's going to be there? Is it okay if so and so interacts with this person? Like, all of these things, because the pandemic has made us second guess what used to be human nature, what used to be just, I mean, you look at pictures from the past now, people without masks on, and you almost like look at it like, oh wow. And so there's this sense of fear, panic, dread, overthinking that is innate now, that is embedded now, that used to not even be in existence, based around certain things like hugging or handshaking or coming in contact, getting in a car with somebody. Like, simple things. And that might take a while for some people just to kind of get over that.
Yeah. As you're speaking, I'm thinking of maybe somebody watching this God shot maybe year two after this and thinking, that is when it started for me. And maybe it could become, unfortunately, maybe for some, a habit that they just never stopped doing it. Now, you mentioned some strategies, journaling, you mentioned breathing, taking a step back. Um, Maybe for anybody, whether it's a new thing, whether it's become because of things they lived through, unexpected death or isolation or tragedy of any kind, what can they do? What can they do to, uh, to navigate this, to get through it, to get past it?
I mean, first and foremost, I would really say go to therapy, because that is something that has helped me tremendously, is having that professional walk alongside of you that knows how to help. And what I will say is, if you try one therapist and it doesn't work out, try a different therapist. It doesn't mean therapy is bad. It means that therapist didn't work out.
Yeah.
um, but in addition to that, some other steps would really be looking up things like mindfulness. I know that some people are really like, meditation, but like prayer and meditation and yoga and those things are really, really important because it keeps you centered in the present moment. And so if you're projecting into the future and overthinking the future, you're not really in the present moment. And so staying grounded is such a beautiful like counter mechanism to overthinking. And that is something, I actually have this cross right here, is actually, Katie, who is someone that you and I both know, made this for me. She ground it up out of the rose from Rolando's funeral and actually made this for me. And so I use it as kind of like a clutch, like a prayer cross that, like, if I'm feeling anxious, I can just kind of hold on to it and rub it. And it's part of that mindfulness to just kind of like self soothe and remember, like, okay, I am here. It is okay. And so that is something that can be really important, is to have something that is tangible in your hands that keeps you grounded. Um, and actually, in like a social justice meditation group that I'm a part of, they actually encourage you at the start of every group to have something in your hand. That way, if anything kind of brings stuff up emotionally, you have that in your hand to kind of ground you. So that is something that is pretty universal amongst like mindfulness work, to have something in your hand. It keeps you grounded in the present moment.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Now, you mentioned the spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, everything. Is there a patron saint of overthinking that you know of?
Oh man, that's so funny. I'm sure there is, but Saint Dymphna is the saint for mental health, so I usually just go to her. I pray to Saint Dymphna all the time. Saint Dymphna, protect me from this and stop me from that. And Saint Dymphna, there I go again. What am I doing? Like,
Wow.
rein me in, girl. Like, yeah, she and I have lots of conversation.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting because I included her in my God shots on depression and anxiety. And that makes sense.
yeah,
I wonder if Mother Teresa probably looks after people struggling like this. She struggled with depression for many
yeah,
years of life, but she was also a very much controlling person in the way she went about her ministry. She was like on top of every little thing, and maybe she was an overthinker in a way. And
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but Mother Teresa is just one of, I mean, I got I got her book right here. I literally have all of my like spiritual I have all of my tools around me at all times, like she's one of my girls too. So she is one of my go-to, and that's the thing. Like I think really often with overthinking, with depression, with anxiety, whatever it may be, it's so easy to feel alone, especially during the pandemic. It's so easy to feel alone. And so to me, that is what is so powerful about the saints, is to be able to look at the life of another human being that walked this earth and to say they had this struggle and now they are one of our like holy ancestors that can lead us in a way. um and it's interesting too, right? Because like we have that in Jesus, we have that in Mary, but sometimes we put them on pedestals. And so I think that is what is so awesome about the saints, is that they are flawed and imperfect human beings. So if we are putting Mary and Jesus on pedestals that like they're perfect and holy and I'm not that, well then you have some really really colorful saints that you can look up and be like, oh, I'm a lot like that person.
Oh, Christine, sounds great. Any last thoughts? Anything as we wrap up?
I would just encourage people to remember that like each person's journey is their own. So everything that I've said is specific to my own experience. And so if it doesn't speak to you, that's okay. Um, but if it does and you need some more information, please feel free to, I guess, comment on this video or reach out to Tony, and I would be happy to help if I can. And um, I would just encourage you to do something that's helpful for yourself, because very often, if emotions rise up for people and we don't address them and we just try to push them down and keep going with life and keep going with life, we then find ourselves in a pattern, right? And then we become these like hamsters on a wheel. And sometimes what we really need to do is stop and look at what's happening and address it, and that way we can stop the pattern, stop the wheel from turning, and that way we are actually able to progress forward instead of just going around and around in a circle. And what's really important about that is when we go forward, we're healthier. And so that's just my prayer and my encouragement for any of you watching this, because if you are watching it, it probably means you or someone you love might be struggling with this, as I do. And so I would just say, I would just encourage you to get off the circle, get out of the wheel, break the pattern, and to figure out whatever it is that you need to go forward. And it might look different than the person next to you or your friend that also struggles with overthinking, and that's okay. Each person's journey is their own, and to just take that journey for yourself because you deserve it.
Thank you, Christine. You know, I think it's such a gift for anyone watching this, really, just to see, number one, I'm not alone and I'm not the only one. And number two, that there are ways through this. So,
Yeah, oh, definitely.
yeah, so thanks so much. That's all I could hope for any person who's going to tune into this gotcha. So thank you again for sharing yourself, your story, your insights, and whatever. Keep shining. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, Tony, I just want to say one more thing, because you
You
just
always,
actually,
you always do have one more thing. Yes.
I know. That's how we roll. You actually just said something that made me realize, I lost it. Oh, okay. Sorry. Um, I think something that's really important is like they're not alone, and getting help and all that is really wonderful and important. But I think, as Tony can attest, just because I've gotten help and I have strategies does not mean that I don't struggle. This is something that on some days I manage, and on other days I succumb to. And so I think it's really important to recognize that, like, just because you're doing the work doesn't mean that it is like magically gone, and that that is okay, because it's just a part of me. I'm just going to speak for myself. It's a part of me that God loves. I'm not even going to say anyway. God loves because of all that I've been through in my life. And so I just want to make it okay for anyone that maybe is already in therapy and is watching this as kind of like 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road of their journey. And they're like, well, this is all well and good, but I'm not any better than I was 4 years ago. I just want to encourage that person maybe, because I don't know, Tony, when you said that, it just put it on my heart that, like, if this is not for the newbie, if this is for the person that's still struggling, yeah, you're going to have those days. It's going to happen. The world is hard. There is things happening in life today that are just hard. And I just want to encourage to just keep going.
Mhm.
That's all any of us can do is just keep going and reach out to those in your support system. And I didn't say that sooner, but if you don't have a support system, please, please get one. A group of people that you can trust implicitly, that include your peer group, include trusted adults, and include like a little bit older than you mentors, whatever that looks like, whatever age you are. And if you are older and you're like, I don't need all that. No, you do. Every single one of us need that dynamic in our life because it is so important to have those people.
I think that's significant that you got that last minute insight, because that's exactly true about healing. It's a journey, not a destination. And it's a process, and it's not about getting it all wrapped up tight and then you're done. And it's a journey. It's a journey. So thank you for reminding everybody struggling with this that is how a better way to approach it than like, let me just do one or two things and then I should be good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no quick fix to mental health struggles. And for anyone who isn't willing to claim this as a mental health struggle, there may be a quick fix for you, but there may not be. And so to just be gentle with yourself about it is important.
Yeah, beating yourself up never helps, no matter what it is you're struggling with.
No.
Okay. Any last thoughts?
No, that's it. I swear.
Christine, thank you again. It was a real blessing to share this with you.
Yes, you too, Tony. Thank you.
China. Okay, gang, how we doing? So we're doing overthinking, and I'm really happy for this portion of the video to be talking with my friend Cindy Garcia. She is an amazing counselor, therapist, and she helps people deal with all kinds of stuff. So, Cindy, I'm really glad to have you. Thanks for taking the time to help all the people of all ages that are going to be watching this video, because apparently overthinking is a big deal.
Yeah.
Not for me. I don't like to think about anything, but for a lot of people. Um, Cindy, where do you think it comes from?
Oh, very anxious driven. That is definitely an anxious driven trait to have. Like for example, let's say a single mother is an over like they're probably one of my biggest overthinkers that I have in my office with me at times. They're like, did I give the kids lunch? Did I turn off the stove before leaving? Oh my god, did I let my boss know that I was running late? Oh my god, did I do this? Oh my god, but what if I didn't turn off the stove? Then that means how like my heating bill is gonna be, my gas bill is gonna be higher, and then that means that we might get evicted one day because I'm the only one working and I'm not getting child support right now because the dad doesn't want to help me. And like it just goes on and on and on. And I tell clients like that is so much anxiety. Like how that's not productive, and your cognitions are, they're irrational. You're worrying about, when it comes to overthinking, I always have my clients think about these two concepts. Overthinking, you're so obsessed with the what ifs. Like this could happen, this could happen, that could happen, that could happen, but you're not focused on what is going to happen, what is most likely going to happen, and more likely than not everything will be fine. But your emotional brain is making you think otherwise, and you're not using the logical one. So that's what happens with overthinking. A lot of anxiety gets riddled up and stirred up inside someone, and it's not helpful.
Right, right. And it's definitely different from having like a naturally analytical mind. If
Mhm.
this is more than a person that just likes to, figure things out, think things through. It's
Mhm.
beyond that.
Yeah, I have my clients who are very analytical. They're high functioning. They're very, hyper intelligent. They are the analytical types. They do overthink at times, but their overthinking, since it's so logical, it actually goes into the realm of they are perfectionists. So that is a completely different realm than overthinking. They're like, I need to do more spreadsheets so my boss notices me, and I need to color coordinate them, and I need to show him the data of this experiment that we did in the company and how we will profit more in the end because of it, and I need to constantly show up to work earlier so that my boss sees that I'm a worthy employee and so that he'll promote me to maybe supervisor or like lead something. So I feel like the analytical types, they more fall under the realm of perfectionism.
Got you. In fact, when you were describing it before, I don't have a big psychological background. That's why you're here. But it sounded to me a little bit like OCD,
some
obsessive
of it,
compulsive disorder.
some of it. I mean, there are two realms of OCD. OCD is, for those who don't know, stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. But there is another one called obsessive compulsive personality type, which is that you just like oh, like I need to have my pillow positioned this way, and if somebody moves it the wrong way, no, put it back the way I had it. Like that freaks me out. Or this pen needs to be facing north and you just made it face south, and then that's freaking me out. But an obsessive compulsive disorder person has what we call rituals. So I've had an OCD client before, and the woman would turn her lights on and off like 8 times every day, like in the morning and at night. But the ritual was because she felt her mind was telling her, if I don't do that 8 times, like in the morning and at night, my son will die. Like they
Oh,
correlate their rituals with life or death situations. Yeah. Like with very extreme results, if negative results, if they don't do this ritual.
right, right. Got you. So OCD is a step beyond or different.
Yeah. Yes.
Hmm. Okay. So if you find yourself overthinking and it really, in what ways do you have your clients tell you that it kind of poisons their life or kind of ruins things for them? In what ways does that manifest? What kinds of things are they saying? I need help because I keep doing this and this and this.
Uh-huh. Well, in regards to the overthinking, it's some of my clients tell me that due to constant overthinking, like they will binge eat or they will like emotionally eat. So they're like, because of my overthinking, I'm gaining so much weight. Or on the flip side, I have some clients that are spending so much time overthinking that they aren't eating and they're dropping weight like crazy and like in an unhealthy way. I had a client, I think she lost like 12 pounds in a week one time due to her overthinking. I was like, Jesus Christ, like this is really unhealthy. And I've had others that will lose a lot of sleep because of this. Like they'll be tossing and turning at nighttime, like, oh my God, like I need to finish this assignment. And if I don't finish this assignment, like I'm going to fail this class. And then if I don't fail this class, and that means I'm not going to get that scholarship to that university. And then that means I'm going to work at McDonald's. And I'm not going to have a productive life. I'm going to be living with my mom until I'm 50. And oh my God, like, and they're tossing and turning, overthinking things that are very irrational to think at that moment. Or I'll have my clients on the flip side, they will actually sleep too much because of their overthinking. Like they are so physically and mentally drained that they will just sleep all day because they spent so long overthinking. They will maybe overthink for maybe 6 hours, and then they'll spend like the rest of the day sleeping, doing nothing but sleeping. So I've seen a lot of people come in with those presenting issues, like their overthinking impacts their body on a physical sense. And that is really disheartening to see when that happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as someone who's in a helping profession,
Mhm.
someone comes to you and overthinking is an issue.
Mhm.
What kinds of two things? What kinds of behaviors can they implement themselves?
Mhm.
And another question is, how does somebody who does that know where, like, I'm in the realm of I better talk to a counselor?
Mhm. So I guess with the first question, it's well, one, I always love to start with because overthinking is different for every person. So sadly, like I can't generally like answer this question for the general sense because everyone overthinks differently. But I do like to start the same with all my clients. Like, when did this start? Like, can you tell me of a time frame when this started? Like, oh, maybe it started when mom passed away, or maybe it started when I had my first really big breakup, or I lost my best friend because he or she moved away, or maybe my pet passed away. Like, usually something will trigger the overthinking to start happening. So then once we can pinpoint when this started, then I like to ask them, okay, and what have you done thus far to cope with this? And usually people don't have any coping skills. They're like, well, I just eat, or maybe I drink, or maybe I smoke weed to help me calm down. Or some people will exercise. Like, I'm obsessed with the gym, so like I work out like for 3 hours because I'm overthinking. Or some people will pour themselves into their jobs. Like, I'm a workaholic because I'm overthinking and I need to be working or else I'm gonna be home overthinking. So once I figure out their coping skills, I usually like to teach them something different, obviously more effective. So I will teach them ways to cope better with their anxiety. That could be um anything from, some people like deep breathing exercises, so I will teach them relaxation techniques and deep breathing. Not everyone's a fan of it. For the ones that aren't a fan of it, I will use something hands-on with them. Like, literally, a lot of my clients, I'm very fortunate, are in some way or another artistic. And you don't have to be a dancer, singer, drawer to consider yourself to be artistic. Some people take beautiful photographs. Some people write beautiful poetry, or they journal and they express themselves like beautifully through writing. So I will have them release those anxieties through that. Like, okay, if you draw, get a coloring book and maybe color in like a page per day to help you cope better with this. Or if you're a writer, I want you to write a story of what your life would be like if you weren't overthinking. And I'll have them like write several pages of that story so that they're working towards that goal without them realizing it. Sometimes I will have people, the ones that like to stay in bed all day or do nothing, I try to get them to literally leave their homes. Like, I'm not asking you to work out an hour a day. I know that that's unrealistic to ask you at this point, but you can give me at least a 10-minute walk a day. That's not that bad. And we're getting the nice weather now. So if you can give me a 10-minute walk a day, I guarantee you will see a decrease in your anxiety symptoms. So I teach them stuff like that, and then like we move forward and I start adding like bigger and bigger skills, but I like to start, very slowly and very small, like with my clients when it comes to their coping skills. And then once I see that they're implementing them and they're seeing some results, then I'll start adding more. And in regards to the second question, if you're an overthinker, when do you feel like, okay, I think this is big enough problem that I should consider counseling? Um, One, definitely if you feel like any of the physical stuff that I mentioned earlier, if you feel like any of those apply to you, because it's damaging your physical health. If you feel like your overthinking is damaging your physical health, please speak to a professional. That could be a doctor or that could be a therapist, but definitely seek some type of professional help. And more likely than not, I've had a lot of overthinkers go to their primary care physician first, and then right at the end of that appointment, the physician will usually always say, but you also need to go see a therapist about this. Like, so if you do go see a doctor, just be prepared that they might end your appointment with telling you that you do need to see a professional, mental health professional for this. Um, and if you feel like it's like inhibiting you in your daily activities, like, is it causing you like high levels of stress? Is it causing you high levels of anxiety? That anxiety could trickle into depressive symptoms. Is this overthinking making you feel very depressed? Is it making you feel hopelessness, loss of motivation, feeling like you'll never get out of this cycle of overthinking that you're in, and you feel like you're stuck in this black hole that you won't come out of? Once you start feeling any of those really negative emotions, please seek help. There are many resources out there for everybody, regardless of your legal or your immigration status. There are so many services out there. So I don't want people to use I don't have my papers as an excuse. No, there's a lot of nonprofit agencies in every single county that will treat you for free. So if you feel like your physical health is being damaged or your mental health is just really out of control, that it's like it's impacting your daily activities, please seek help.
Okay, great. And Cindy, I mean, you're seeing this as a phenomenon because there are people of all ages that watch these videos. I mean, is there any differences significant if it's an adult or a teen going through this, or is it pretty much the same?
It looks the same. It's just the overthinking is for different topics. Like obviously for the adults, it's about like their careers, their children, their households, their bills that they have to pay. And then for teens, it's more like my assignments, my grades, my future, going to college, maybe my boyfriend, my girlfriend,
Mhm.
maybe they're struggling with their sexual identity at that point, so maybe that could be overthinking. So it's different topics, but I feel like the levels of overthinking have been generally the same, very very heightened.
Okay.
Hmm.
Cindy, with all you've seen and all you know, is there any last words that you would like to give for anybody who's watching this for whom overthinking has become an issue?
That please, if you are overthinking, your mind is in the what ifs. Again, I will repeat, you're thinking what could happen, and then pause, take a step back. If you're thinking, oh my God, this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, this could happen, once you start listing all these things, I need you to take a step back and then be like, wait, 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 what will happen? What most likely will happen? And then challenge yourself that way. That's what I love doing with my clients. I have them challenge their anxious thoughts. I'm like, okay, we're going to challenge them. I need you to give me proof that that would happen, and then this would happen, and that would happen, and that would happen. And usually my clients can't give me proof. And why? Because an overthinking thought is only an opinion, and opinions can be challenged with a fact because they are an opinion. But you can't dispute a fact. A fact is a fact. So once I try to challenge their anxious thoughts and they can't give me any proof, then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to throw some facts at you. Most likely, this is all that's going to happen. And they're like, oh my God, Cindy, you're right. Like, it's just, and I'll be okay. Like, I'm just overthinking for nothing. And I'm like, exactly. So if you're stuck on the what ifs, please challenge yourself to think, no, what most likely will happen? Like, what will and what, like, yeah, what would happen in the end? Not don't focus so much on the what ifs, because that's what overthinkers are doing, stuck on the what ifs.
You know, as you're talking, I got to tell you, I can't help but thinking that that's what's going on in the country right now with politics.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's just going nuts, and it's all overthinking about opinions
Hmm.
when real facts could probably get them out of that state of frenzy
Hmm.
and anger and all the negativity that's floating out there, no matter where people are on the political thing. Wow,
Hmm.
you just brought that out real clear. Thank you for that. Now, if we could just get the word out to all the people that are in a frenzy politically. Cindy, once again, thank you. And for all you guys watching the video, if you would like to meet with Cindy for counseling appointment, that the counseling appointment, that's what they want to meet for. Information about contacting her is later up on this video. Okay, Cindy, thanks again. Keep up the good work. Okay.
Thank you.